Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. Michele Glass here. We are continuing our discussion of the central nervous system in our chapter 3. Remember, when we say central nervous system, we're talking about our brain and we're talking about our spinal cord. So as we look at our conversation here, we're talking about things that are protecting both of these key structures, right? And so we will see meninges as part of our brain and spinal cord protections. We'll see cerebrospinal fluid as part of our brain and spinal cord protections. The blood-brain barrier is just the brain, and the cranium is going to be talking about the skull bones that protect the brain. But you know what? Let's go ahead and add vertebral column. To remind ourselves that it's the bone that protects spinal cord. And so if you wanted to, maybe you could just relabel this whole section here bone as an important protector. Let's remind ourselves just a little bit more here about the blood-brain barrier. So we've talked about it before as being formed by those neuroglial cells called astrocytes. And we said that the astrocytes will actually kind of wrap around capillaries and really then control permeability. So this is talking about what actually can get from the bloodstream to the neural tissue, to the neurons, right? And so what we're seeing is that things have to actually cross through the cell membrane of the astrocyte. So it goes from the bloodstream through the cell membrane of the astrocyte before it has contact with the neurons, right? And so this means it has to be lipid soluble, meaning it has to go through the phospholipid bilayer of the astrocyte. So that's stuff like oxygen gas, carbon dioxide gas, right? Water, remember, is not actually lipid or lipid soluble, but it's such a teensy tiny little molecule that, remember, it can squeeze through at a kind of slow rate, but it moves through the phospholipid bilayer. And then anything else is going to have to go through a membrane channel or carrier. And so this is going to be our nutrients like glucose, amino acids, and then ions, because they have a charge there, right? We're going to talk about our meninges in more detail, but right here we can just talk about them as the connective tissues that wrap around the whole central nervous system. So remember, we're seeing this pattern of our organs are wrapped around with connective tissue. And I like to think about this connective tissue as having like two jobs. It's simultaneously making that organ a separate structure, but also connecting that organ to the rest of the body. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about our cerebrospinal fluid as we move ahead. So stay tuned for these more detailed discussions. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other.